It depends upon what the meaning of the word is.
Yeah.
Ooh, sound is sounding good. Hope that sticks around.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it sounds very clear. All right, to the window, to the wall. Let's do the thing. That's the intro that I'm giving us. Turn this volume down just a tiny little bit. There you go. And welcome to you and your horses. Hello to you and your wild horses.
Hi.
All right, let's do it. Let's do another episode. Hello, everyone out in the world. I'm Ed.
And I'm Peter.
And today we have the letter
W.
Lots of words start with the letter W. For once, Peter came into this with a whole ton of words. Peter came real prepared for this, so I don't. Maybe he did some real study.
I can't remember what episode we're about to record, so I don't actually know what letter to prepare for.
Okay,
that's my honest to goodness answer.
That's a fair answer. All right, here we go. Shaking up the cup. Say when you want a word. Stop. Okay.
You've been shaking.
The word is weekends.
Weekends.
Yes.
Oh, that's appropriate. That's nice.
That is appropriate because it's a Sunday. We record on a Sunday. Though I have to say, being you and I, it's not like we really need a weekend to record. No. We probably don't have all that much else going on. Are you an observer of weekends? Do you thrill at the, people talk about working for the weekend, living for the weekend. Do you thrill at the idea of the weekend?
No, not at all. I think that it's a terrible construct that exists only because of corporate greed.
Really? I would have thought you were super pro-weekend, because I know you're pro-union and pro, all that workers' rights and everything. You're very vocal about that sort of stuff. I would have figured that... Yeah.
So, I mean, sure, it's great that we have weekends at all. And I don't think that, I think that most people take them for granted, to be honest. And clearly, you understand the sort of history of the weekend. Why don't you elucidate for our listeners?
Sure. Okay, the history of the weekend. That's interesting. I suppose the history of the weekend begins with... I would suppose it begins with ancient Jews. So I would imagine that the Sabbath was probably the dawn of the weekend. What are we talking about? Maybe 1000 BC, 1500 BC? But then by the time the Romans come on, the Romans have the Nundines. So the Romans have this function that they perform called the Nundines, which is where I believe it's every 7 days. It might be wrong, but I think that's where we actually get the construct of our week from. I believe it's every 7 days. The Nundines occur, and Roman citizens and people who live in Roman-occupied territories can come into the city, children get off school, and workers get off work, and everybody's free for that day. And it's a day where you can bring your wares to market, you can trade with other people, you can practice your religious observances. It's a day when everybody comes together to buy, sell, trade, talk, give news of other places, give news of the world. And there's some horrible hissing coming out of your audio at the moment, but hopefully we'll be able to work around that.
I can't hear it at all. You sound crisp, and I hear nothing.
Right. Yeah, so that's that. The modern weekend, I think, is a bit of a newer thing. If I had to guess, I would say probably it goes back to the what's it called? The Lore, is that what it's called? The Lore Mill Strike? Lore Mill Strike? Lore Mill Strike?
So, yeah.
The Lore Mill Strike, which was 1929. I think that's when people point to sort of the modern version of the weekend coming into effect. So for those who are not familiar with the story, the Lore Mill Strike, or Laura Mill Strike, I can't remember where it's called, was a workers' union strike of garment workers across the United States. It started in North Carolina, and then it just sort of spread. It went for about a year, and it was the first time that a workers' union in the US was able to cement a 40-hour work week with guaranteed time off. So that's my very tenuous, very vague definition.
You did a much better job than I would have done explaining all of that. And I didn't know anything about the Nundines. That's really interesting. Yeah, so I don't know. I think without that sort of perspective, people do sort of take the fact. I guess it's true that throughout history, there's probably been some effort, like with the Sabbath or whatever, to observe, a day off, I guess. But I wonder if that's also always been somewhat sort of class based, right? I mean, you only get a day off if you can afford a day off. And, the Luray, the mill strike that you brought up brings up the sort of salient point that I would have skipped straight to, which is this, that, people did really have to fight for our right to party, as it were. We only have weekends because of, action by workers' unions. Otherwise, conceivably, corporations would just have us working all the fucking time. And now that we sort of work from home and we work on the internet and we work on our phones and things, this sort of dystopian thing is becoming true, and the weekend is sort of eroding, and maybe it's not even really a thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I have been vocal, I believe, on other episodes of this about my distaste for the weekend. But I have a distaste for the weekend because I find that the inactivity of it gets quite depressing to me. So I feel like because I don't work a 40-hour work schedule like a normal person, by the time it gets to the weekend, I don't need that respite that other people might need. I'm not, taking the kids to the lake. I'm not getting the ski-doos out onto the water. And so I'm like, look, can we just do some more things? Can we pass the time a little bit better over the weekend? It becomes quite dull for me.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess, I don't really work a typical 9 to 5 either. And so the weekend, I guess, doesn't really matter to me either. I can take a day to myself to do laundry, or take a day to myself to, go to the beach or whatever, whenever I choose. It doesn't have to be a Saturday or Sunday. But typically, if I am going to the beach, I won't choose a Saturday or Sunday because that's when everybody else is there.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be so crowded.
Fair.
So, but again, that's a luxury, right? The fact that we have time off, the ability to take time off, is a luxury. Sure, a lot of us have more time off than we would like to have because of the pandemic. And maybe it's giving us pause to sort of rethink what a weekend means to us and how important time off is and what we do with that time.
I feel like it's also very, very specific to certain jobs as well. People sort of think that the weekend is the default. They think that the normal thing is working Monday to Friday, taking off Saturday, Sunday. But then a solid, let's say half, maybe even half of the workforce working in retail and hospitality are working weekends, are not considering weekends their time off. People who work in stores,
Absolutely.
People who work in bars, people who work in restaurants, Saturday and Sunday are definitely not their days off. It's funny that we just have accepted that the normal, the standard, is to take Saturday and Sunday off, and all of these people just have to work for us while we have our rest.
Sure, yeah. When I was working, in the restaurant industry, in kitchens and stuff, it was, ideal for me anyway to have, say, Sunday and Monday off, so that, I had Sunday to spend with normal people who didn't work in the restaurant industry, who were still celebrating their weekend a little bit, and then Monday could be, my day to catch up and do laundry and sleep off a hangover or whatever before I had to go back to work on Tuesday. And that was a nice compromise.
Now, when you say the normal people, I have never worked in a proper kitchen. I've worked in like a fast food kitchen, but I've never worked in like a restaurant kitchen. And the public idea, the public perception of kitchen workers is that there's that hissing, so I think I'm going to have to do something about this, but I'll figure that out later, is that there's this sort of madness around kitchen workers, that there's this, cocaine flowing and aggression flowing, and people in kitchens are really angry and firm and going and shouting at each other and pushing past, and if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. It's a whole mad center of activity. Are these the normal people you're talking about?
No, I meant people with normal jobs, like people who work in offices and stuff, who work 9 to 5. So they typically have Saturday and Sunday off.
Okay.
So if you want to hang out with anybody who is not working in the service industry, it behooves you to have either a Saturday or a Sunday off.
I think I have sort of an Anthony Bourdain-driven vision of what kitchen workers look like. I don't know if you've ever read the book Kitchen Confidential. I'm sure you have.
Sure, yeah. But whatever. That stereotype is not necessarily incorrect. I've certainly worked in kitchens like that. I've worked with people like that. But we all make choices, I think typically kitchen work, demands a certain amount of sort of closeness. You sort of become a bit like a family. or it can be really transient, one way or the other. And so you kind of choose the sort of environment or the family that you feel comfortable with. I typically don't like working in environments that are super aggressive and like drug fueled and whatever, which is not to say that those don't exist. But I also think there's been a real push, at least in the past few years in the industry, to recognize that those environments do exist and that they're not necessarily all that healthy. And I feel like there's sort of an idea, at least within the restaurant industry, that needs to change, and that there's been some moves to address that.
How long has it been since you worked in a kitchen?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's easy to float back in for a couple of days or a couple of weeks at a time. I don't know. I have no concept, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've been living without the structure of a week for so long. We're not going to be able to, and especially in the last 2 years, which is crazy to say. Maybe it's not been 2 years, 18 months, especially the last 18 months. We've had no concept of what has been a functioning week over that time. We've had no concept of what's been a weekday, what's been a weekend. Literally every day has melded into a big blur of nothing. So the last, let me just assume the last time you were doing sort of Monday to Friday was probably high school. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So what was your weekend in high school? What was your thing that you would kick off on Saturday, Sunday?
I don't know, smoking pot. That's
that was sequestered to the weekend for you. You didn't do that in the weekdays.
It's like, I mean, it's what I did every day anyway. I mean, the weekends weren't really that special then either.
Right.
So I don't know. I have a loose relationship with weekends, I suppose.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, we're probably not going to get any better. I can't see you and I going into office jobs. I can't see that this is going to...
I can't see anyone hiring us for office jobs.
No, that's true. Especially looking the way we do. We both look very shaggy. What is that song? Signs. Long-haired, freaky people need not apply. That's us. Although you don't have long hair at the moment, so you can grow that out. I'm sure you've got that wiggle room You've got that wiggle room to work with. Did you ever watch the TV show Downton Abbey?
No, I've specifically avoided watching.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's super, super boring. But there was this line from the show that ended up becoming a meme, and it was Maggie Smith's character just literally repeating the words, "What is a weekend? What is a weekend?" It's just so funny. There's like a wealthy dowager woman in 1910s England hearing this wild concept coming to her for the first time.
It is kind of a wild concept, isn't it? Like, I mean, in like pre-industrialized societies, do you think that the weekends really exist? Or is it more like we just kind of have balanced days where it's like, okay, you do some work and then you play and then you rest, and then the next day you do some work and then you play and then you rest, and or whatever. I don't know what order of operations or how many times you repeat these things. But I mean, if you're literally hunting or farming or whatever to survive, I don't know if weekends really make sense. You know, you probably have seasonal, changes to behavior as opposed to these sort of like rotating days of the week.
It's funny. I remember when I was in high school, there was a girl who I went to high school with who had been born in mainland China, and she grew up in mainland China. And we went to school right in the city, so we were sort of close to the Opera House, close to Harbour Bridge, all that sort of stuff. And we used to see people doing their wedding shoots, and there would be these Chinese families doing their wedding shoots on sort of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I remarked once that it was interesting that they had their wedding photo shoots on days of the week. They had their weddings on days of the week, when Australian people really relegated their weddings to the weekend. You would get married on most likely a Saturday, possibly a Sunday. And she said, yes, but they don't have the same work schedule. The people who live in mainland China, and this is her recitation, I don't know if this is fact, but she said people who live in mainland China don't have that same weight on Saturday and Sunday that Australians do. You can get married on any day of the week. Doesn't make a difference if it's Saturday or Sunday. I thought that was quite interesting. That stuck with me for a while. That despite the fact we think we're so globalized and everything is so homogenized around the world, there are still places that don't even follow the same week function that we do.
Yeah, I mean, like when I had the privilege of spending a few, I don't know, almost 2 weeks in a little village in the south of France, and tiny little place, and there were a couple of stores, And it was interesting to me that there were, a couple of stores in this tiny town. A lot of them sort of sold duplicate goods. But what was really interesting was they kind of like took turns closing.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, sure.
there was a store I was used to going to get the newspaper in the morning, and then suddenly Wednesday and Thursday it's closed, and I've got to go to this other guy that's open on Wednesday and Thursday, but he's closed on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right, and so these 4 little shops all stay in business, all selling the same stuff, but it ensures that all of the shop owners' families get a weekend at some point during the week, and that all 4 shops stay in business. And it seems like a brilliant solution.
That is just the dream, to own a little shop in the south of France and choose your own working schedule.
Right?
Yeah, that is fantastic.
What the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, what are we doing? Imagine living in like beautiful, bucolic southern France town, selling the newspaper, having a cigarette and a coffee every morning on your terrace.
Yeah, like, what the hell are we doing
Yeah.
here?
Well, that's a great note to end on. Any last thoughts on the weekend before we push on?
Let's eschew weekends in favor of a more balanced life. Selling newspapers and drinking coffee.
Screw weekends. Screw the weekend. Peter, can you tell our listeners about our website and our accoutrement?
Sure. You can visit us online at podpage.com/ed-peter, and you can do all sorts of things there. You can order merch. You can leave us a voicemail, which we strongly encourage you to do, especially if you can answer the following question. When I was uploading our most recent episode, I was taking a look at the statistics for our listenership, and I noticed a massive, massive drop recently in the number of downloads to our podcast.
It's probably because we disappeared for 2 weeks.
And I always wonder if it's like because of something we said.
No, it's because
Right?
we disappeared off the face of the earth for 2 weeks, and people.
No, because it was post that period, right? So like I don't know. I'm always looking to analyze the numbers, right? And my anxiety always suggests to me that it's something we said. So if it is something we said, let us know by sending us a voicemail. And again, you can do that at podpage.com/ed-peter. And you can do more fun things there too. You can listen to our previous episodes to find out if, in fact, you're insulted by anything. And you can, explore, find other ways to do other fun things. Ed?
All right, that's all for this week. That's the letter W. I'm Ed.
I'm Peter.
All right,
Have a good one.